World War II is the largest military conflict in human history. 16 million Americans served. 405,000 died. The war spanned 6 years across every continent except Antarctica. It involved battles on scales never seen before or since. Millions of soldiers, thousands of ships, tens of thousands of aircraft. The coordination required was unprecedented. The logistics were impossible. The stakes were civilization itself. Behind these massive armies were men making decisions, generals, commanders who sent millions into battle, who planned invasions, who coordinated across oceans, who balanced politics with strategy, who carried the weight of thousands of lives with every order. These men weren't perfect. They made mistakes, had flaws, egos, rivalries, but they won. Against Germany, against Japan, against enemies who had years of preparation and initial advantages. The American generals learned, adapted, innovated, and ultimately delivered victory. This is the story of 5 American generals, the men who shaped the war, who led the invasions, who commanded the fleets, who took the fight to the enemy and didn't stop until unconditional surrender. Dwight Eisenhower, George Patton, Douglas MacArthur, OMAR BRADLEY, Chester Nimitz, 5 different men, 5 different personalities, 5 different approaches to command, but one shared mission: win the war, save the world, come home. October 14, 1890, Denison, Texas. Dwight Eisenhower is born into poverty. His father works at a creamery, barely feeds 7 children. Young Eisenhower works odd jobs, knows discipline, knows hard work. 1911, he gets an appointment to West Point. His parents are pacifist Mennonites. Don't believe in military service, but they know education is his escape. He graduates 1915, the class that produces 59 generals. More than any other West Point class. World War I, Eisenhower wants combat, wants to prove himself. The Army assigns him to train tank crews in Pennsylvania. He never deploys to France, never hears a shot fired in anger. When the war ends, he's frustrated. 30 years old, still a captain, no combat experience. The interwar years are difficult. The Army shrinks, promotions rare. But Eisenhower persists, graduates top of his class at Command and General Staff College, serves under MacArthur in the Philippines, learns grand strategy, learns what kind of commander he doesn't want to be. December 1941, Pearl Harbor. Eisenhower is a brigadier general, staff officer, never commanded troops in combat. But Army Chief of Staff George Marshall sees something. Intelligence, organization, ability to work with people. Marshall assigns Eisenhower to plan American strategy for Europe. Within months, he's promoted to Major General, Lieutenant General. By 1942, he's commanding general of the European theater. This is extraordinary. He's never commanded a division in combat, never a corps, never an army. But Marshall believes Eisenhower has the political skills needed for coalition warfare, the ability to manage egos, to coordinate allies who don't always agree. Eisenhower is appointed Supreme Commander, Allied Expeditionary Force, responsible for planning D-Day, the largest amphibious operation in history. June 6, 1944, Normandy. Eisenhower makes the decision to launch despite terrible weather. High winds, rough seas, low clouds. His meteorologists give him a narrow window. June 6th might work, barely. If he delays, the tides won't be right for another month. The Germans might discover the plan. Eisenhower decides, go. 156,000 troops assault 5 beaches. The invasion succeeds, barely. Omaha Beach is nearly a disaster, but the Allies hold. Liberation of Europe begins. Eisenhower's leadership is crucial. Not because he's on the beaches, he's at headquarters, but his decision to go despite bad weather is the hinge point. He also writes a statement taking full responsibility if the invasion fails. If any blame or fault attaches to the attempt, it is mine alone. The statement is never released, but it shows his character, willingness to take responsibility, to protect subordinates. After D-Day, Eisenhower manages the Allied advance. This is where his political skills matter most. He's managing British Field Marshal Montgomery, American generals Patton and Bradley, French General de Gaulle, all strong personalities, all with national agendas. Montgomery wants a narrow thrust into Germany. Patton wants to race across France. Bradley wants broad front advance. Eisenhower has to balance these competing demands, keep the coalition together. He mostly succeeds. Paris is liberated August 25, 1944. The broad front strategy pushes Germans back to their borders. December 1944, Battle of the Bulge. The Germans launch a surprise offensive, threaten to break through to Antwerp. The situation is desperate. Eisenhower responds decisively, gives Patton permission to pivot Third Army north, temporarily puts American troops under Montgomery's command. Both decisions are controversial, but they work. The Bulge is contained. The Germans are pushed back. Their last offensive capacity is destroyed. May 7, 1945, Rheims, France. Germany surrenders. Eisenhower's message to the combined chiefs of staff is simple. The mission of this Allied force was fulfilled at 0241, local time, May 7, 1945. No glory-seeking. Just mission accomplished. He's commanded Allied forces for 3 years, delivered victory. He's 54 years old, the most famous general in the world. After the war, Eisenhower becomes Army Chief of Staff, then President of Columbia University, then Supreme Commander of NATO. 1952, he runs for president, wins in a landslide, serves 2 terms, 1953-1961. As president, he ends the Korean War, maintains peace, builds the interstate highway system. He governs like he commanded, building consensus, making tough decisions without fanfare. March 28, 1969, Eisenhower dies at Walter Reed Hospital. Age 78, his legacy is secure. Supreme Commander who liberated Europe, President who maintained peace, the general who proved that military genius is politics and diplomacy as much as tactics. November 11, 1885, San Gabriel, California. George Patton is born into wealth, old money, military tradition. He grows up hearing stories of cavalry charges, of glory and honor. He's obsessed with military history, idolizes Alexander, Caesar, Napoleon. He's dyslexic. Reading is difficult, but he memorizes. Dreams of military glory from childhood. 1904, Patton enters West Point, mediocre student academically, but excels at horsemanship, fencing, military bearing. He's arrogant, convinced he's destined for greatness. Graduates 1909, commissioned into cavalry. 1912, he competes in the Stockholm Olympics, modern pentathlon, finishes 5th, returns to study fencing in France, becomes the Army's master of the sword, designs the Patton sword, his first contribution to military innovation. World War I, Patton finds his calling. Tanks, the new weapon. He volunteers to command the U.S. Tank Corps, trains his men personally, leads from the front. September 1918, Meuse-Argonne offensive. Patton leads his tanks into battle. On foot, he's shot, nearly dies, earns the Distinguished Service Cross. The experience shapes him. Tanks are the future, fast, aggressive, overwhelming. The interwar years frustrate Patton. His career stagnates. The Army shrinks. Tanks fall out of favor. But Patton studies armor warfare, develops ideas. December 1941, Pearl Harbor. Patton is 56. A major general. Worried the war will end before he sees combat. He doesn't. Marshall assigns him to command I Armored Corps, then sends him to North Africa. November 1942, Operation Torch. Patton commands Western Task Force, lands at Casablanca, succeeds. February 1943, the Germans maul American forces at Kasserine Pass. Americans are humiliated. Patton is given command of 2 corps, told to restore discipline, fighting spirit. He transforms 2 corps in weeks, ruthless, demands standards, proper uniforms, helmets always worn, personally disciplines officers. His quote, "We're not holding anything, we're advancing constantly." The troops respond. Discipline improves. Confidence returns. Patton leads to accord a victory at El Guitar, July 1943, Sicily. Patton commands 7th Army. Montgomery commands British 8th Army. Patton sees it as a race, American versus British. He drives his army mercilessly. Reaches Messina August 17th, hours before Montgomery. The victory is tactical, but psychologically crucial. Americans have proven they can fight. Patton is the hero. His face is on magazines. Then disaster. August 1943. Patton visits field hospitals, encounters soldiers with combat fatigue, shell shock. Patton doesn't believe in it, thinks it's cowardice. He slaps 2 soldiers, calls them cowards. Eisenhower is furious, considers relieving Patton, but he's too valuable, too good at commanding armor. Eisenhower reprimands Patton, forces him to apologize, keeps him in theater but sidelined, humiliated. Eisenhower has a plan, uses Patton for deception, creates fictional 1st U.S. Army Group, stationed opposite Calais. The Germans think this is the main invasion force, think Patton will command it. The deception works. The Germans keep forces at Calais, away from Normandy. August 1st, 1944, Patton is unleashed, given command of 3rd Army. Mission: break out of Normandy. Exploit the gap. Patton advances faster than any army in history, 600 miles in 2 weeks. His philosophy: a good plan violently executed now is better than a perfect plan executed next week. The advance across France makes Patton a legend. December 1944, Battle of the Bulge. Eisenhower asks his generals what they can do. Patton says he can attack north in 2 days. The other generals laugh. Impossible. Patton doesn't care. "I'll attack with 3 divisions in 48 hours. He does. 3rd Army pivots 90 degrees, reaches Bastogne, December 26th, relieves the 101st Airborne. The maneuver is studied today as operational brilliance, moving 133,000 troops, rotating supply lines, in 48 hours, in winter, while engaged with enemy. Impossible. Patton does it anyway. May 8, 1945, Germany surrenders. Patton has commanded 3rd Army for 9 months, liberated 81,522 square miles, captured 1.3 million prisoners. 3rd Army casualties are 137,000. Remarkably low for such aggressive operations. Speed and violence save American lives. But peace doesn't suit Patton. He says things like, "Compared to war, all other forms of human endeavor shrink to insignificance." He speaks his mind, too much, suggests using German POWs immediately, suggests keeping former Nazis in their jobs if they're skilled. This is 1945. The Holocaust has just been discovered. Patton's comments are politically disastrous. Eisenhower relieves him. October 1945, Patton is crushed. December 9th, 1945, near Mannheim, Germany. Patton is riding in a staff car. The car collides with a truck. Patton is thrown forward. His neck is broken, paralyzed from the neck down. December 21st, 1945, Patton dies. Pulmonary embolism, age 60. He's buried in Luxembourg, American Military Cemetery. Among his soldiers, simple white cross, just his name and rank. Patton's legacy is complicated, brilliant, aggressive, inspiring. He transformed American armor doctrine, proved that speed and violence win wars. But he was also crude, offensive, politically tone-deaf. He slapped soldiers with PTSD, made anti-Semitic comments. Modern assessment is mixed. Great combat commander, terrible diplomat, perfect for war, impossible for peace. January 26, 1880, Little Rock, Arkansas. Douglas MacArthur is born into military aristocracy. His father, Arthur MacArthur, is an Army general, Medal of Honor recipient. Douglas grows up on military posts. West Point is his destiny. Enters 1899, graduates first in his class. 1903, highest marks in 25 years. He's brilliant, athletic, charismatic, also arrogant, convinced of his destiny for greatness. MacArthur's early career is charmed, serves in Philippines, Japan, Mexico, World War I. He's Chief of Staff of the 42nd Rainbow Division, fights in France, repeatedly decorated, promoted to Brigadier General at 38. After the war, becomes Superintendent of West Point, youngest ever, modernizes the academy. 1930, appointed Army Chief of Staff, youngest since the Civil War, age 50, 4-star general. But MacArthur's tenure is controversial. 1932, the Bonus Army marches on Washington, veterans demanding early payment of bonuses. They camp in the Capitol. President Hoover orders them removed. MacArthur commands the operation, uses tanks, cavalry, tear gas. Veterans are violently evicted, 2 killed. MacArthur is unapologetic. The incident damages his reputation, shows his political tenure, willingness to use force against Americans. 1935, MacArthur becomes military advisor to the Philippines. The Philippines are preparing for independence, need an army. MacArthur moves to Manila, lives luxuriously. He's building his legend, wears custom uniforms, sunglasses, corncob pipe. The pipe becomes his signature. MacArthur understands symbolism, theatricality. He's not just a general, he's a brand. December 7, 1941, Pearl Harbor is attacked. Hours later, Japanese aircraft hit Clark Field in Philippines. MacArthur's Air Force is destroyed on the ground, inexplicable. MacArthur had hours of warning, should have dispersed his aircraft. They're sitting on runways, easy targets, destroyed. The disaster is MacArthur's fault, but he's never held accountable, never admits error. December 1941. February 1942, Japanese invade Philippines. MacArthur withdraws to Baton. Corregidor, plans to hold until reinforcements arrive, but reinforcements aren't coming. MacArthur keeps promising his troops that help is coming. None of it is true. The troops call him Dugout Doug because he rarely leaves Corregidor, doesn't visit front lines. March 1942, Roosevelt orders MacArthur to leave Philippines, evacuate to Australia, take command of Allied forces in Southwest Pacific. MacArthur escapes by PT boat, then aircraft, arrives Australia March 17th. Immediately makes his famous statement, "I came through and I shall return, not we." I, pure MacArthur, making himself the center. The men he left behind surrender April 1942. Baton Death March, 70,000 prisoners, force marched 65 miles, no food, no water, beaten, thousands die. It's a war crime. Survivors spend 3 years in POW camps. MacArthur promised them rescue. It never came. They don't forget. Baton veterans resent him for life. MacArthur's Southwest Pacific campaign is innovative. He develops island hopping, bypassing heavily defended Japanese positions, seizing lightly held islands, building airfields, using them to support the next leap, isolating Japanese garrisons. The strategy works. Faster than assaulting every island, costs fewer American lives. October 1944, MacArthur returns to Philippines, lands at Leyte, wades ashore in front of cameras. "People of the Philippines, I have returned. It's pure theater. The photograph is staged, multiple takes, but it works. The image is iconic, proves MacArthur kept his promise. The liberation is brutal, urban warfare in Manila, but by July 1945, Philippines are secured. August 1945, atomic bombs. Japan surrenders. MacArthur is appointed Supreme Commander for Allied Powers, essentially military governor of Japan. September 2nd, USS Missouri, Tokyo Bay. MacArthur accepts Japan's surrender. His speech is magnanimous. "It is my earnest hope that from this solemn occasion a better world shall emerge." MacArthur's occupation of Japan is his finest hour. He's essentially absolute ruler, uses power wisely, preserves Emperor Hirohito, implements democratic reforms, land reform, women's suffrage, writes new constitution, renounces war. MacArthur transforms Japan from militaristic empire to democratic ally. Maybe the most successful occupation in history. June 1950, North Korea invades South Korea. MacArthur is given command of UN forces. He's 70, should be retired. But he's the obvious choice. September 1950, Incheon landing. Amphibious assault behind North Korean lines. Every naval officer says it's impossible. MacArthur insists. He's right. Incheon succeeds. UN forces break out. Seoul is liberated. MacArthur's a genius again. But MacArthur overreaches, pushes north toward Chinese border, ignoring warnings. China has made clear that advancing to their border triggers intervention. MacArthur dismisses this. November 1950, China attacks. 300,000 troops. UN forces are shattered. Longest retreat in U.S. history. MacArthur wants to escalate, bomb China, use nuclear weapons. President Truman refuses. Korean War must stay limited. MacArthur disagrees publicly, criticizes Truman, undermines his commander-in-chief. This is insubordination. April 11, 1951, Truman fires MacArthur. MacArthur returns to America, first time in 14 years. Ticker tape parade, 7 million people. He addresses Congress. Old soldiers never die. They just fade away. The speech is emotional, but MacArthur's career is finished. He's 71. MacArthur lives another 13 years, fades from view, not entirely. Advises presidents on Vietnam, but he's an old man, out of touch. April 5th, 1964, MacArthur dies. Age 84. He's buried in Norfolk, Virginia. MacArthur Memorial, a shrine to himself. MacArthur's legacy is debated. Brilliant, innovative, transformed warfare with island hopping, transformed Japan with democratic occupation, but also egotistical, insubordinate, politically tone-deaf. His firing was justified. Civilian control of military is sacred, but his accomplishments are undeniable. One of the most important American generals, flawed, human, great. February 12, 1893, Clark, Missouri. Omar Bradley is born into poverty. His father's a schoolteacher, dies when Omar is 13. His mother works as a seamstress, struggles to support the family. Bradley helps, works odd jobs, delivers papers. He's quiet, studious, humble. West Point is his escape. Gets appointment, enters 1911, graduates 1915, same class as Eisenhower. Bradley's early career is unremarkable. Doesn't see combat in World War I, serves stateside, teaches at West Point, attends Army schools, slowly promoted, not spectacular, not political, just professional. Does his job well, survives the interwar years, waits for opportunity. World War II, Bradley gets his chance. George Marshall notices, assigns Bradley to train divisions, 82nd Infantry, 28th Infantry. Bradley transforms them, emphasizes realistic training, live fire, night operations, combined arms. His divisions are ready when deployed. February 1943, sent to North Africa. Deputy Commander to Patton. After Sicily, Bradley commands 2 corps, then 1st Army for D-Day. This is crucial ground command. Eisenhower commands overall, but Bradley commands American troops hitting the beaches. His planning is meticulous, realistic. Studies Dieppe raid, learns from British mistakes, coordinates with Navy, Air Force, not flashy, just thorough. D-Day succeeds partly because Bradley prepared carefully. After D-Day, Bradley commands 1st Army through breakout. Hedgerow fighting is brutal, slow, high casualties. Bradley adapts, uses armor differently, close air support, artillery. He's flexible, does what works. July 1944, Operation Cobra. The breakout from Normandy, Bradley's plan, massive aerial bombardment, concentrated on narrow front, then armor exploitation. Patton's 3rd Army breaks through. Bradley is promoted, commands 12th Army Group, over 1 million men. Largest American command in history. Bradley's command style is quiet, professional, doesn't seek spotlight, doesn't make dramatic speeches, just does the job. His soldiers call him the GI General, one of them, not aristocratic like Patton, not theatrical like MacArthur, just an officer who cares about his troops, minimizes casualties, wins battles efficiently. Battle of the Bulge, Bradley coordinates response, pivots, Patton's 3rd Army, holds the shoulders. Eisenhower temporarily assigns American forces to Montgomery. Bradley is furious, but accepts the decision, doesn't undermine Eisenhower, professional to the end. After the Bulge, forces return to Bradley's command. He pushes into Germany, crosses Rhine, advances steadily. May 1945, Germany surrenders. After the war, Bradley becomes Chief of Staff of the Army, then first Chairman of the Joint Chiefs. Korean War, he supports Truman's decision to fire MacArthur, testifies before Congress. This strategy would involve us in the wrong war, at the wrong place, at the wrong time, and with the wrong enemy. The statement is powerful, ends MacArthur's political comeback. Bradley retires 1953, lives quietly, writes memoirs, consults, dies 1981, age 88. Last surviving 5-star general. His funeral is simple, military. Bradley's legacy is professionalism, competence without flash, not the most brilliant, not the most aggressive, but the most steady, the most reliable. The GI general who brought his troops home. February 24, 1885, Fredericksburg, Texas. Chester Nimitz is born. His father dies before he's born. His grandfather, former German merchant marine captain, raises him, teaches him about the sea, about ships, about honor. Nimitz grows up in landlocked Texas dreaming of ocean. Wants West Point. Can't get appointment, gets Naval Academy instead. 1905, graduates 7th in his class. Strong student, very good. Nimitz's early career is solid, serves on cruisers, destroyers, submarines, becomes submarine commander, pioneer in submarine warfare, between world wars teaches at Naval War College, studies strategy, becomes expert on diesel engines, Navy power systems, technically brilliant, administratively gifted, not flashy, not political, just competent, reliable. December 7, 1941, Pearl Harbor. Pacific Fleet is devastated. 8 battleships sunk or damaged. American naval power crippled. Admiral Kimmel is relieved, scapegoated. Roosevelt needs new commander, someone to rebuild fleet, restore morale, win the war. Roosevelt chooses Nimitz. December 31, 1941, Nimitz arrives Hawaii, becomes Commander-in-Chief Pacific Fleet. Age 56. The weight of Pacific War rests on him. Nimitz's first challenge is morale. The fleet is demoralized, ships still burning. Nimitz restores confidence. He's calm, steady, doesn't panic, just focuses on next step, rebuild, repair, plan. Nimitz's personality is perfect for crisis, unflappable, professional, focused. April 1942, Doolittle raid. B-25 bombers launched from carrier. Attack Tokyo, minimal damage, but psychological impact is huge, shows Japan is vulnerable. Nimitz supported the operation, provided carriers, took the risk. May 1942, Carl C. First carrier battle, tactical draw, strategic American victory. Japanese advance toward Australia is stopped. Nimitz's carriers have fought Japan to standstill. June 1942, Midway. The turning point. Nimitz has intelligence advantage. American codebreakers crack Japanese codes. Nimitz knows Japanese are targeting Midway, knows their plan, positions carriers to ambush. 4 Japanese carriers sink. Japanese Navy is crippled, never fully recovers. Midway is Nimitz's greatest victory. Brilliant use of intelligence. Pacific War changes. America goes on offense. August 1942, Guadalcanal. First American offensive. Marines land. Japanese counterattack, 6 months of fighting, brutal naval battles, but Nimitz keeps sending reinforcements, keeps pressure on. February 1943, Japanese evacuate, tide has turned. Nimitz's strategy is island hopping. Central Pacific, Tarawa, Kwajalein, Saipan, each island closer to Japan, each providing air bases for next advance. Fighting is terrible, but Nimitz learns, improves tactics. Amphibious warfare doctrine evolves. October 1944, Leyte Gulf, largest naval battle in history. Japanese try to stop MacArthur's invasion. Nimitz's carriers and battleships destroy Japanese fleet. Japan loses 4 carriers, 3 battleships, 10 cruisers. Japanese Navy ceases to exist as effective force. Nimitz has won the naval war. 1945, final push, Iwo Jima, Okinawa, both incredibly costly. Iwo cost 7,000 Marines. Okinawa costs 12,000 Americans. Bloodiest Pacific battles. Nimitz oversees both, provide naval support, endures kamikazes. 34 ships sunk, 368 damaged. August 1945, Japan surrenders. Nimitz's President ceremony. USS Missouri, September 2nd, signs for United States. War is over. Nimitz commanded Pacific Fleet for 3 years, 8 months. Won every major battle. Destroyed Japanese Navy. Advanced 5,000 miles, from Hawaii to Tokyo. Under his command, fleet grew from damaged ships to most powerful navy in history. After war, Nimitz becomes Chief of Naval Operations, Navy's highest position, serves until 1947, retires, lives in California, near ocean, dies February 20th, 1966, age 80, buried at Golden Gate National Cemetery, San Francisco. Near the sea he spent his life on. Nimitz's legacy is professionalism, strategic brilliance without ego. Wasn't flashy, didn't seek headlines. Just did the job, won Pacific War, destroyed Japanese Navy, less famous than MacArthur, less colorful than Halsey, but more important than both, the quiet admiral who won greatest naval campaign in history.